Morning, glad you're with us. It is Tuesday, February 17th, right here on Jocks. Busy show today. Pete Nakos on 3, going to be with us at 7:30. Andy Burcham, talk Auburn basketball at 8. What do they need to do here down the stretch to ensure themselves a spot in the tournament? Richard Hendricks will ask him the same questions coming up at 9 a.m. this morning. G-Mac, you and the family had a ski trip this weekend. How did that go? How was that with all the kids?
Oh, well, 2 out of 3 made it. I was telling you before the show. This was like worst nightmare scenario. And the funny thing is, this happened before. This happened before we went to Disney World with the family last year or whatnot. May wakes up day before sick. Well, this was day of. 3 a.m. Our flight leaves at 9. Sick. It's like, you got to be kidding me. You can't get flights. So Meredith's like, we're in trouble. Like I'm gonna stay back. I'm like, you're not coming on vacation? We're out however many dollars on lift tickets. We're out this. We're out that. And long story short, had to call in-law. In-laws stepped up to the plate. Big time shout out to the Gray family and Phyllis Gray in particular. She made it happen for us. So at the 11th hour, quite literally the 11th hour, calling her at 3 o'clock in the morning to come watch the baby for a weekend.
That's massive.
Massive. MVP award for sure. Phyllis Gray.
How was the kids and the ski lessons, skiing, the whole deal? How was that?
Unbelievable. I'm not kidding when I tell you this. I don't care where by the way, the level of bouginess that can be found on the ski slopes compared to the entry level experience, there's a really wide gap there. It's like borderline Disney World where you get like the A+ $8,000 private service around the thing, or you just go and pack an Uncrustable and that's your day. You've done Disney. Like, you can spend as much as you want or as little as you want. I think the same can be had with skiing, because some of the things that I saw a la après ski. You guys familiar with this?
No.
Oh, that'd be a negative.
This is a thing now. You go down the wrong slope, and you end up at the Ritz-Carlton, which might as well be a different planet from what I was from the side of the mountain that we were on. Might as well be a different planet. Bottle service. It's like a club at an outdoor bar next to a ski run. And normal people are just skiing. Meanwhile, like, billionaires are sitting there drinking $1,000 magnums of Veuve Clicquot. It's like, this is a different animal. So that's the new rage, supposedly.
So you took that wrong turn to figure all this out?
No, we want to ski the mountain. So we skied to there's like this little Strawberry Park, and there's this, you have Centennial, you have like all these other lifts or whatnot. So ski a different part of the mountain. We end up on the east side of the mountain, which is where the Ritz so happened to be. And we walk into a DJ and people, singing Pink Pony Club at the top of their lungs. With skis on.
Uh-huh.
It's a scene now. So there's après ski. But I will say this, the best family vacation we've ever had. It really was. The level of activities for the kids. Ski school was amazing. They're going down blues. By the way, we ski with them the last afternoon. They're going down blues. My kids had never seen a ski until 3 days ago. And they're going down blues. It was unbelievable, man.
Blues Clues? Like,
put blue into perspective. I don't know what that means.
Green is bunny slope, entry level. Like,
okay.
Basic. Blue is the next level up. Then it goes to single black. Then it goes to double black.
Oh, okay.
But they're pretty dang aggressive. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, they're real aggressive. Black's nuts. But blues are aggressive. For example, I will probably never, ever, ever do anything higher than a blue. I just don't I don't want to. There's no reason. So it's pretty hardcore. But the kids played all day, and they had an ice skating rink in the middle. They also had pool. The ice skating rink was like the best deal in town. It was like $5 for skates, and you could skate as long as you wanted. So we encouraged that behavior. And then you had the hot tub, which was heated the whole time. and the pool that was heated the whole time. It was awesome, dude.
Yeah, most hot tubs stay warm.
Usually.
It's kind of in the name.
The fact that they kept it hot the whole time, though, that's a plus.
Can you believe that?
That's hey, you said it was bougie, so I guess that makes sense.
That could be the new thing now. A hot tub, but cold.
Yes.
You're gonna love it.
That's called a cold plunge, and that also good for the body. But awesome vacation. You got to do it. You got to do it. It doesn't matter where you go, what mountain you go to, where any of this stuff. The kids going skiing is just the coolest thing. They're so proud of themselves, and it was awesome. Very, very highly recommended. Awesome.
Yeah, it's rough when dad can't do it, so I'm not putting that on mom.
No, you don't need to
all
do
three.
it. You don't have to ski. Meredith skied for 30 minutes.
Not putting that on her.
You don't have to do it.
Those three trying to go down a mountain.
Ski school.
No way.
Ski school, dude. Let them go rip. Let them go rip it up.
But they got to go get up there.
You walk up. You don't ski up the mountain to go to ski school. They usually meet you at the base.
You walk up where you ski down.
Yes, you
You
literally
don't take the ski.
No, there's like a little
deal?
Yeah, it's all like at the very base of the mountain. You go to the little ski school thing. I was very overwhelmed. I felt like I've had this experience a few times. First time I tried to navigate Disney World, you feel just very overwhelmed. You know what I mean? You're trying to figure out who's doing what. All right, where do we go for this? It's just very overwhelming. First time I rode the New Jersey Path train to go from New Jersey to the city. Had the first time trying to figure out the subways in the city. All these kind of are categorized in the same deal. And then this was the same way. But it's actually quite easy. You can walk up. You don't have to get on skis. You don't have to do one thing. You can just walk.
I didn't know you could walk to the top of where you were going to ski down. I thought you had to do the lift.
Yeah, the kids go up there with their ski instructor. Or they have what they call a magic carpet, where you literally like stand there and they go up.
I'm talking about once they start skiing on the blues and everything you're talking about.
Oh yeah, but they're with their ski instructor. Or if your wife would like to go too, she can go.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not putting that. At some point in time, they get away from the ski instructor, and you got to take them yourself. And like I just can't do it anymore. I can't do it. Knee back, I can't do it.
I get it.
Not doing it.
I'm not doing it either. So you and me can go chill at après ski and look at the fancy people.
What is après ski?
It's the après ski. It's like basically après ski is drinking and skiing.
Got it.
Après is French for after, as in what are you doing after skiing?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what it's also. It could be before too.
I thought those like fancy people sing like the fat lady really loud.
More
Like the opera when you go.
Oh, close.
Got it. Noted. One thing that we didn't talk to you about, because we got some news from Alabama football that I also wanted to get to. A new hire announced over the weekend. Richard Owens announced as tight end coach. Latsier Brooks apparently in a car accident. He had a picture of himself on his Instagram story in a neck brace. Apparently he's okay, though. A couple other new hires potentially going to be announced today. And then one college football analyst has some thoughts on where Alabama is trending. We'll get to that across the course of the show today. But we never got caught up on you actually going and speaking to the team.
Yeah.
And wanted to know how that went, what that was like. Just take us through that process. Number one, it just had to be cool for you to be invited back to go do that. And then having that opportunity to talk to the guys, how did it go?
It was awesome. It was great. I mean, it's a lot of new faces in there, man. A lot of new faces. Really good. Good energy. I mean, it was cool to walk in and guys were like very, very intent. You know, they're very much dialed in.
They cared.
They're sitting up in their seat. They're taking notes or whatever it may be. They're asking questions. They're engaged, which I think that's a good sign, because in times past I've gone and talked to the team that hasn't really been that level of engagement. But it was great, and I mean, I think the message is pretty clear. Like I told him this flat out, and I've always said this every time I go back. Look, every single one of us former players that's been here and done that, proud of you. We are. Like, in a roundabout way, we're proud of you. Now, we can occasionally be disappointed with the performance, or we can be disappointed in this, we can be disappointed in that. But, like, the real ones know that at the end of the day, you guys are out there doing your best. Like, we're all acknowledging of that. Now, at the same time, if there's something that you could do better, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging, hey, there's an area for improvement here. Hey, there's an area where you can get better here. There's an area where they'd like to maybe grow in this area. That's all totally fair. But it was great to visit with them. It's a young team, but you can tell there's a lot of guys that are very dialed in. And I think they are going to be a team that a lot of people are going to be interested to see. I think a lot of people are going to be probably impressed with how well they kind of looked on the hoof. I mean, to me, I thought they looked pretty good. But the message was pretty clear. We're super proud of you. Just go out there and ball. Let it rip. Like, there's a lot of haters when it comes to Alabama football and a lot of sidewalk fans that, think this or think that. And the coach is this, the coach is that, the players are this, the players are that. In reality, like, you and I both know the level of personnel is not what it's been in the past. That's in part due to what Kalen DeBoer walked into, the personnel that was on the roster then. It's taken a little time to adjust. There is a little bit of an acclimation period. It'd be great to just flip the switch and happen overnight. Doesn't. But I think, like you, Cole, I think last year's team overachieved. How would you characterize it?
Not underachieved for sure. Yeah, I mean, there were parts of it that were better than I expected it to be, and I didn't guarantee them a spot in the playoff. Wouldn't have guaranteed them a playoff win for sure. So, and I do think that's a little bit of where maybe not a little bit, that's probably a lot of where we are with perspective on any team, all teams. To sit there and think that your team is just in the playoffs, going to win a playoff game, I don't. It's just hard to imagine that you can be that confident in a team going into a season this day and age with what we know, what we think we know, and then definitely what we don't know.
For sure.
About all these teams. And when we've gone through teams that we like, teams that we don't like. We went through the national championship odds of teams at different levels a couple of weeks ago, and you just realize the uncertainties with a lot of these teams. And the more coaches I talked to this offseason, it's a reoccurring theme, and it's been this for the last couple of years. Man, I don't know. We don't know. We need to play before we're going to know what we have.
For sure.
You can't go out there and scrimmage full speed, 8 or 9 times before a season starts this day and age. You're not allowed to do it. You don't have the time to do it. You don't have the practice reps to do it. You don't have the practice reps in full pads to do it, and then you don't have the numbers to really want to do it. So it's hard to determine kind of what you are as a team truly, specifically compared to what we had even 5 years ago, much less 8, 10, 15, 20 years ago when you got to that first week of week 1 and you're kind of like, yeah, this is what we're going to be. This is what we're worried about. This is where we need to go. And you kind of move forward with that. So, yeah, overachieved. I definitely wouldn't say underachieved. But it's hard for me to even say that, Greg, because I didn't really know what that team was going to be.
For sure.
Because you had a quarterback we had literally not seen play, not seen be the guy, with a newer coaching staff in year 2 after you had to continue to run some guys off because of how they were acting and what they were doing, and a complete shift from sort of, I don't want to say mindset of how you operated, but just of how a lot of things were managed. And there's difficulties with that. So, yeah, I don't really know what the expectation is for fans right now this year. I don't know if Alabama fans, it's playoff or bust, if it's national championship or bust, if it's SEC championship or bust. Do they even care about an SEC championship? Is it win multiple playoff games? I don't know what the expectation is right now for most Alabama fans.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the ones that are unrealistic and out to lunch think that if they don't win the national championship every year, they're soft and this guy's that and team can't do this. It's not the way it once was. I just don't think those people are living in reality. If we're being completely honest, it's hard to win now. I mean, it's really, really hard to win. Stars kind of have to align, and you're going to have some down years while going young in order to peak and to potentially win championships. Like the teams that are competing for titles every year have the deepest pockets, and even those teams aren't winning championships. I hate to break it to you, Indiana does not spend more on football than Bama does. So like this whole thing, the Big Ten's taking over because they got deeper pockets. You would be embarrassed by the amount that Mark Cuban donated to Indiana. It's not as much as you think. It's actually quite small. And there are boosters for the Tide and for Auburn and for other places that are spending way more than Mark Cuban spends, but Mark Cuban wants to do a victory lap. He wants the publicity from it, which is totally fine. He's smart. He knows what he's doing. It's the reason why I sat courtside at Mavs games. It's the reason why he does the whatever the show is on CNBC. Like, he's a good businessman. He's a good marketer. But as far as donations to Indiana are concerned, he's not putting them over the top. Let me just go ahead and tell you. Bama spent more money on NIL last year than Indiana. So, and Auburn spent about twice as much. So it's doesn't matter. Money cannot buy you wins. It can give you a chance for sure. You can't win without it, but it's not the only thing that leads to success. So when you look at everything, I think the biggest message for a lot of people is for the team as like nobody outside this room really matters. That was the message that I said mostly to the team. Because ultimately, Cole, think about this. Did external conversation have an impact on Auburn last year?
No.
You don't think so?
Did it impact how they performed?
Yes.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I think a lot of the expectation externally was, Jackson Arnold makes mistakes. Don't turn it over. This, that. You got shiny objects at wide receiver. Better keep him happy. You don't think external?
No, I see where you're going, and I get that, and I think that's fair. But I looked at it more from an elementary perspective of why did they go out and fail at times? Why were they not more successful? The guys didn't do their jobs. You didn't execute the way you needed to. Now, could some of that be maybe less conversations and more happenings as of, hey, you get this much front-loaded on a deal in which you haven't really done anything? You haven't really performed?
Right.
I mean, it's some of the I think we get a little carried away with some of the higher end guys. That roster the last 2 years, some of the mid-tier guys, what they've been making is probably what's more egregious and more embarrassing.
I understand.
And it was I've said this before, I'll say it again. It has been collecting talent as opposed to building team. And those two things are very different.
For sure.
And I understand how that gets a little bit cloudy sometimes and how there's some gray area there, because how can you really tell? How do we really know if we're talking about Mississippi State or South Carolina? We look at, okay, here comes an offensive tackle from NC State. We watch his film. Looks pretty good. However, rankings he has in star ranking, what's his number rank in the portal rankings? All right, he must be great. And then if he's not to that expectation, then that's a failure.
Yeah.
Or if a receiver comes in and doesn't play, or a quarterback comes in and doesn't play, well, they didn't capitalize on him. They didn't make the most out of him. But what does the head coach know about that person? What did that do behind the scenes? What did he do in meetings? What kind of leadership? We don't know. We don't know who's out there actually trying to go do some of the things like Bielema talked to us about at the bowl game, which I've shared, of getting certain people who handle themselves a certain way.
Right.
And we don't know who's just going out there collecting talent. Now, I'll say this. I think both sides can work.
100%.
I mean, you don't think Lane Kiffin is essentially collecting talent for the most part?
Of course he is.
Has been, and has been working for him.
And we'll see and we'll also see if that is as effective as most will hope. I hope it is. I don't know that for sure. I don't think it's a lock. I don't think it's a guarantee.
Nope.
But we'll see. I think that a big part of it, though, I think that the modern teams are very much impacted by the external noise. And that is hard to deal with when you're at a place with legitimate expectations, because a lot of the people that have no involvement, no investment outside of their own time and yelling at the TV for 3.5 hours on Saturday, which, by the way, this is great. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But those are the ones when you don't play up to the standard that they're expecting from you. They're the ones that are going to be really vocal and critical, and those are the ones that could have a huge impact on the team. Because, frankly, last year's team, I think, was very much impacted by preseason expectations. And as soon as things start to go sideways, as soon as things start to go off the rails, they got really tight. And then they said, all right, we don't care. And they played with reckless abandon. They played awesome for a 4 or 5 game stretch. And then they were exhausted, have one slight off day. The offense never really recovered. You know, it's like, I think last year's team really kind of was the product of their own environment a little bit, as opposed to just, hey, us against the world. I think that they attempted to be that and were that for a very long period of time. But eventually the negativity will get in. You know what I mean? They're going to get in the room. So I think just keeping the main thing is huge. And it's not easy to do. I think it's very difficult to do.
It is. All right, so a lot to get to today. Pete Nakos is going to be with us in 10, 15 minutes. Now, like I said, Pete Nakos just had a conversation with Alex Golesh. He'll share that with us. The state of college football. Some teams are making some decisions right now in college football that I question. I don't know if a lot of other people do, but I look at them and say, why are we doing that? Why would you call Train? That's an easy question to answer. Flu season here. Make your home healthier with Train's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. Removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus. 100 times more effective than standard air filters. 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. Find a dealer near you at Train.com. It's hard to stop a Train. Back to talk more college football, building rosters next, right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Talking building rosters in college football. The difficulty comes in a lot of ways. That is what type of players you want to go after. And then, Greg, who can you actually get?
Yeah.
So you can say, we want this guy, we want that guy. We need this kind of player mentally, emotionally. Okay. Can you get him? And then if you can, does he fit your system, what you want to do? Does he, from a skill set perspective, have what you need to be able to potentially go out there and win games? It's just a lot more difficult than saying, okay, here are the top 5 portal left guards. We have X amount of money. Who can we really attack and go get? There does become a little bit of behavior involved. There does become a little bit of mentality involved. And then becomes the facet of, well, he still has to commit to you and want to come play for you.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as just, I know it sounds for a lot of people, it sounds like, hey, we have this much money. This is the way we want to do it. But it's a little bit more difficult than that.
Yeah. I think when you look at it, it's a lot tougher. And frankly, you want to find the guys that are not making the decision exclusively off of cash. Like I've talked with a buddy of mine whose son is starting to get recruited. And the coaches now are almost the ones that are like engaging off the top, off the jump, about, all right, how much is he looking for? And like they kind of say it, and the coaches are either like, all right, well, that's not going to happen here, you can leave, or other coaches be like, all right, we can get to that number. Like the first question is not about, hey, how do I help you win? How do I help you compete? It's all about, oh, well, here's how much. And then it becomes very difficult to land certain guys that you want that are actually tone setters, because those guys might be increasingly difficult to get because they might be getting told what they want immediately right out of the gate. So, yeah, getting them, retaining them, having them, but then again, having to engage in conversation, not really getting to know who they are, can be difficult. So I think a lot of coaches are tweaking their process a little bit this year. I really think that. I think there's more and more tweaking that's gone on this year than there's been in the past, and that's probably for the benefit of some of these teams going forward.
Yeah, it's you look now at the portal rankings. Everybody thinks you have to have somebody at the top or somebody ranked at a certain spot, and that's who we want to go after. That's who we have to get. And the reality is, Greg, the top 5 portal tackles might not be a fit for what you do. Or you may have coaches at 2 or 3 of those schools that say, I would avoid that one at all costs.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're getting down to the 8th or 9th ranked portal tackle, and you go get them, and you save a little bit of money, and everybody wonders why in the heck are you going to get that guy? And the fans are upset, the fans are frustrated, and everything online becomes negative. And so putting that roster together has a lot more difficulties than just this is a guy that we think is a good player. Now, we've said it. There are some places that, for the most part, I'm not going to say somebody like Lane or anybody else that has done that solely. And that's the only, I mean, he's bringing some guys that he's been around, so you know that he wants them for a reason.
For sure.
And it's not just that they're a good player, but he does know who they are and what they are.
He knows what to expect from him.
But that can even work to an extent. And I think that a lot of that becomes, what do you expect from me? What do I expect from you?
Yes.
And a lot of coaches have gotten away from the whole, building character, building humans, spending time doing those different things. But culture is going to be a part of every building no matter what. To what extent or how little extent, it's still going to have something to do with how your team comes together.
And maybe in some cases to a detriment. Like, look, I think a lot of people realize with Kiffin's approach at Ole Miss is like, I'm going to take from you, you're going to take from me, we're all going to be rich together. Like that's kind of, it feels like that was kind of the approach. Now, he did have the benefit of Jackson Dart, who was a strong personality, was a strong leader 2 years ago, but that didn't matter. They had 3 games that they completely blew against 3 teams that didn't have as much talent as they had.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I hate to break it to you. Like, there's 2 teams in college football that had better roster than Ole Miss 2 years ago. 2, and one of them's Ohio State. So that's it. So I do think when you rely on a mercenary type of approach, there's nothing wrong with that. And you can potentially have great years, but there's a reason why Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss for LSU, because he knew that there's one bad transfer portal class away from having a 5-7. And that's a reality. And then when you build it that way, it's hard. It's hard to do it. It's hard to sustain.
We'll talk to Pete Nakos on the other side, building rosters in college football. Also, where does he believe Alex Kolish and Auburn are after a recent conversation with him? All that and more next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. 7:31, Tuesday, February 17th, right here on Jocks. Before we get to Pete Nakos, Greg, tell our listeners about Bromberg's.
Oh, Bromberg's a great spot to go. And we've been a place we've been going a long time. Very, very grateful to Bromberg's and the experience that we've had. And if you are one of the lucky ones that got engaged over the holiday season, now is when the fun begins. Wedding planning's a blast for some, not as much for others. But I'll tell you what is pretty fun, picking out your wedding registry. Except I don't really know what to pick out. I don't know anything about China or crystal or silverware. I don't know anything about that stuff. But Bromberg's does. They have the experienced bridal consultants that can walk you through the process one-on-one. And as they celebrate 190 years in business, you can start this new chapter with the experts that know registries best. So enjoy 20% off wedding bands and special pricing on wedding party gifts as well. Register online at brombergsbride.com or visit Bromberg's in Mountain Brook or at the Summit. All
right, let's go to the Higginbotham hotline now. Welcome in Pete Nakos from the On3 Sports Network. A recent conversation you had with Alex Golesh, Auburn head coach. Greg and I have been spending time on roster building here in the first portion of the show. How does he view sort of where that roster is right now?
Yeah, what's going on, guys? I think he has a lot of confidence about what they have coming in year one. They brought in like 13 transfers, I think it is, from USF. They bring in Byron Brown, his quarterback from USF. He feels confident about what they've added, and I think the biggest thing that is giving him some peace of mind this spring is knowing that he doesn't have to have a big quarterback competition. He doesn't have to bring in a quarterback who has to earn the trust of the locker room necessarily. He's bringing in a guy who has already bought into the Alex Golesh culture, and someone that gives him, he said, some calmness when it comes to thinking about Saturdays in the fall in the quarterback position. And I think that has, kind of freed him up and given him the chance to kind of, look at the team as a whole, see where things are at going into spring ball. And there's definitely some confidence there that they feel that they did what was necessary in terms of, turning around this roster for year one.
How would you assess the ability for the USF guys to immediately compete? Because I think a lot of people look, it's USF, that's totally different than the SEC. Meanwhile, we've seen James Madison guys, 13 of them, ironically, go from James Madison to Indiana and immediately jumpstart the program. So why is there such, I don't want to say pessimism, but why is there a level of negativity surrounding this comfort that you just described as it relates to Auburn when it's been successful in other places?
Well, in terms of answering your question about why there might be some negativity, it might be because the USF didn't win the American Conference this past year. I think maybe it'd be a little bit of a different narrative right now if they are coming off a college football playoff berth or something like that. But you kind of look across the board at what they brought in from Golesh's time at USF. They bring in a quarterback that he likes. They bring in multiple wide receivers that they feel like are going to elevate the room, or at the very least, try to fill in the spots of what Cam Coleman left. They bring in some experienced players on the line of scrimmage. I was talking about this with Alex too, and I'll put it out in another story at some point, but he's really tight and good friends with Mike Vrabel from his time as an assistant at Ohio State and getting to know him. And we were just talking about when you heard about the Patriots this year that he talked a lot about how Vrabel, brought some guys with him from the Titans and who had some relatability with Vrabel and how that kind of helped out the culture in New England immediately and why they went to the Super Bowl this year. And I don't think Alex was necessarily saying that, they're going to win a national title this year, but I think it gives him a lot of confidence going into year one that he has some guys in the locker room who know what the expectation is and know what, it's all going to look like. And that should only bring along the locker room a little bit quicker.
What is the outside view of Byron Brown coming in as quarterback? I feel like nationally it's not getting a ton of recognition. There are a lot of guys that I think are viewed as more high profile, better options, going to be more productive. And I see a few people here and there that are like, listen, this is a better get than people are discussing. Like, what are you collectively hearing about the fact that he was able to get that quarterback in to run his system year one at Auburn?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the outside narrative is that Byron Brown played at a pretty high level at USF, but there's definitely some questions about, winning the big games and winning in November and things like that. And I think that those will be questions that linger as we go into the season. But just from my conversation with Golish, I think that there's a lot of confidence of he's going to be able to help players around him learn the playbook, that there's confidence that he's going to take the next step in his progression this season. Um, and I think, I mean, you know a little bit more about this than me, Cole, and you can offer your take, but I think how things go in year one of the Alex Golish era are really going to have to do two things. What the defense looks like, and then does Byron Brown take a significant step in his progression as a quarterback or not?
What is the next step for him? Because he's already played a lot of football. I mean, how much better can we really expect him to get this year compared to what he's done the last couple of years? He's already been pretty dang good.
I mean, yeah, he started 32 career games. He's 18-14 as a starter. I say progression when I say that. I guess I'm thinking, can he take the talent that he had at the American Conference level and bring it with him to the SEC and continue to play at that level? And I guess if he can continue to do that, I think that only means good things for Auburn.
I don't think many people would disagree that it could be better things when you get a quarterback that's run your offense as much as he has and has many snaps. We're talking with Pete Nakos on the Higginbotham hotline. You also reported yesterday about a new hire in Baton Rouge that Lane Kiffin is going to bring into his facility, or I guess actually just safeties coach Jake Olson is going to stay in Baton Rouge, so not a new hire coming in, but a new hire for him. How is that going so far? Where do you sort of view, how would you lay out 1,000-foot view of Lane Kiffin's short tenure in Baton Rouge and how things are playing out?
Newsy, a lot of headlines. He's definitely hired who he's wanted and retained who he's wanted and got out of the portal who he's wanted. And, the next big question is, how's it all come together? And, I don't know about you guys, but when everything was going down with Ole Miss and LSU and trying to figure out where Lane was going, I think for me at least, just because of how busy the coaching carousel was and the portal's getting going, I guess I never really had the moment to be like, okay, what do I expect Lane Kiffin to accomplish in year one at LSU? And I guess that will be an off-season question that we'll think about and talk about. I would say after what they just did in the portal, though, I think that there's going to be a big expectation of Baton Rouge to win immediately. I don't think that there's going to be a huge grace period just because of how heavily invested they have gone in on this roster and the talent they brought in. So how does Sam Levitt's, recovery from injury go this spring? Where, does everything come together the way they expect it? Does Jordan Seaton have the impact on the offensive line they hope? Does the 9 wide receivers they bring in, does that pay off? Those are the questions I have for Lane Kiffin going into spring ball. And it's been fast for Lane since he got to Baton Rouge, and now all of a sudden we're going to start playing football here soon. So it'll be interesting to see that.
Is it asking too much, though, to put all these new pieces together? It's a little like an all-star team in many ways, kind of across the board, and yet that team last year, for whatever reason, just never really could get out of their own way. Now, like you said, a lot of the guys that they've brought in have had success playing college football, but it's not a lot that they're going to just all come together and create this unified force. So what would you describe as a successful first season for Lane Kiffin at LSU?
Yeah, so they brought in 40 new transfers. I'm looking at it right now. I got to think it's competing for an SEC title and being, squarely in the college football playoff picture at the end of the season. I guess I'll have to give it some more thought if I think that they have to make the playoff, if that should be the standard in year one. I don't think I put that much thought into it yet.
I don't think people look at it and say that anything other than a playoff spot would be a success for Lane Kiffin year one. I think it's going to be playoff or bust. When you look at some of these other offseason moves, we've heard some chatter about Alabama and the expectation there under Kalen DeBoer. I'm just kind of interested in what you're hearing about that roster, that team heading into the season, because honestly, Pete, I don't really know what fans' expectation is. I know what the usual expectation is, just baseline for Alabama fans, and it's the standard and it's national championships. But we know with today's college football, it's not really how it works at any place. Where do they stand for you? Where does Kalen DeBoer and his team, his roster, that building sit for you right now as we slowly approach the 2026 season?
I think it's going to be a pivotal year for Kalen DeBoer. I think he's all in. I think that they have put together a roster that he has confidence in can go out and win. I think that he felt like they were young in some spots last year, and that the experience is going to pay off. And um, really just curious to see how this quarterback competition goes and how it plays out. Does Austin Mack emerge as the starter quickly in the spring because he has game experience, or does Keelan Russell went out? I mean, I continue to hear pretty rave reviews about what he's done behind the scenes. I I I feel like I need to get a better grip of where this quarterback competition is headed before I really put expectations on Bama. But behind the scenes, there's definitely it's going to be a pivotal year. He was front and center in the Michigan search. He's obviously back at Alabama. Um, that loss in the Rose Bowl didn't sit well with anyone. Um, but yeah, it's a huge year three. I don't think we can sugarcoat that.
What about the other additions that they've brought in? Not a lot of guys that are outrageously blue chip, high level prospects in some people's eyes. But then again, I mean, Indiana had the 25th ranked portal class last year, and a lot of their guys were pretty dang sporty. So, how would you assess the personnel that they've been able to accumulate in the portal, and couple that with some of the freshmen that they brought in the recruiting class? What's reasonable for just the overall talent profile?
Yeah, so they bring in the number 8 overall rivals recruiting class. Uh, and I think the expectations are going to be pretty high from the jump there about what this class can do. And I think a lot of credit goes to Kalen DeBoer and his staff with making sure that nothing's really slipped in recruiting um, since he's come in. And there's some questions about running back in with Hollywood Smothers flipping to Texas, but they do bring in a Xavier Crowell, who's a 5-star plus recruit, is expected to be a major impact player. They also bring in Xavier Griffin, a defensive lineman from Georgia, who's also expected to make a pretty quick impact. And then you look at transfer wise. Listen, it's not the sexiest transfer class ever, but they definitely brought in some guys from across the Power Four who will be expected to contribute. They bring in Noah Rogers from NC State, the wide receiver, who will kind of slide in with Isaiah Horton leaving, and they get Ty Haywood, a guy that they really liked in the 2025 recruiting class, who left Michigan after one season at offensive tackle. So the pieces are there. I think a lot of credit needs to go to Kalen DeBoer too for making sure that they continue to recruit high school at the level that they were under Nick Saban.
Pete, great stuff, man. Thanks for hopping on with us, giving us some updates on things that are happening, things going on. I look forward to catching up with you again soon. We enjoy your work.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
Pete Nakos with the On3 Sports Network at Pete Nakos. Follow him on3.com. You can find his work there. Joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Some interesting things to kind of follow up there. That quarterback battle, for some reason, not getting as much discussion as maybe it should. What does it mean? How many different directions could it go? We'll discuss it next right here on Jocks. What are the expectations from the Alabama quarterback battle? Not one that we have spent a ton of time talking about. Not one that we spent a lot of time discussing just yet, G-Mac. Do you expect it to be close? Do you have a leader in the clubhouse? Is there a guy that you feel like would be a better option right now? I feel like the talking points on this, we haven't brought up very much. Usually when we go into this, similar to, I think we had more conversation last year with an incoming freshman and a guy that had been there for 4 years that maybe we're having right now about two guys that there are a lot more unknowns on heading into this quarterback battle for Alabama this year.
Well, I think a lot of other shows made it into a race last year. I think yours and mine, we kind of told you it was going to be Ty, right? I mean, we were kind of all over that from, I don't know, January on. Just because Ty was a good player. Like, people felt like Ty was a good player, but people didn't know. It had been a long time. They've forgotten that he did have a, quote, 5-star pedigree, all this other stuff. And they always want what's new. They want the new toy to go out there. Now, I have no idea which direction it'll go. It's totally up in the air because what we've seen from Austin Mack has been, the guy was a really highly regarded high school prospect. He was really young. He played his entire freshman year at 17 years old. He's now been in the system for a while. Like, he knows the system inside and out. And while I know the game against Indiana is a tough one, right? Tough sledding, but he did some good things in that game. There's some nice things to see in that game. And we know Keelan's got a lot of potential, a lot of juice, can really deliver the football. I think it's totally up in the air. I mean, I have way less of a feel on this one than I did last year. I think it's really going to be a fantastic competition. One that both guys clearly think they're in the mix for, right?
Oh, I think most people would look at this right now. I think you could talk to one Alabama fan and he would say, oh, it's Keelan Russell, 100%.
I think most Alabama fans would say that.
Yeah, though. But then I think you could talk to some others that maybe pay a little closer attention and seen some things, heard some things Kalen DeBoer said, and they're like, no, Austin Mack's got a real shot at this thing. It could easily be him.
No question he does. He absolutely has a shot at this thing. Now, if you're going off recruiting potential, and I take the recruiting rankings with a real grain of salt, because I've seen 3 stars go out there and absolutely work 5 stars. A lot. See that happen a lot. Notably along the offensive line. Plenty of really good 3-star offensive linemen. I don't know, Chance Warmack comes to mind. 3-star guy, unless they've gone back since and have changed his star rating, which they might have. I don't know. I haven't gone and done it and looked in a while, but saw him come in, and there's some 5 stars that were supposed to be dudes that got pushed to the side. So I've seen it happen a bunch. But I do believe, based on what the staff has said and what people in the building have said, that Keelan's a real dude. I mean, he's really good. So they're really optimistic, I think, about quarterback. I think they're really optimistic about running back. I think they'd love to have had Hollywood Smothers just for a veteran in the room, but I think they're encouraged by the youth that they might have at that position, the juice they're probably going to have at that position. And I think they really like their wideouts. So that's a big part of playing quarterback. You got to have a good supporting cast. And I do think they feel real strongly about the supporting cast, and whoever wins that competition is going to have a great chance to go out and be successful.
Do you feel like the offense would be directed in a very different way depending on who wins it? Is it going to be pretty close of what schematically you're going to get regardless of which quarterback takes the helm?
I think it's safe to assume, just because one guy's been in the system for a year, the other guy's been in the system for 4. With Austin, probably going to have a little deeper depth of knowledge and tweaks and adjustments, which I think can be beneficial, like they were at times last year for Ty. It can also be a detriment, because I think sometimes one thing I would like to see from the Tide's offense this year is a little more call it and run it. Hey, it's not going to be perfect.
For sure.
It's not going to be perfect, but sometimes you just have to run it into a brick wall. You know how many times I'd go to the line and have a run check? I mean, every single run we had a check on it almost. You couldn't run power against this. Power's a get out of jail free card. Couldn't run it against 369. There's a 369 on the right side of the offensive line. We got 60 power called. Like, we can't run it. And guess what? There were a couple times when that defensive line moved into a 369. We still had power called, and you know what? Ingram gained 4. Just sometimes you gotta go with it. It can't be perfect on every snap. So I would like personally for them to have a little more call and run and not to be so perfect on a down and down out basis. Like, it's okay to force a dirty run. And if it results in a negative play, then dang it, they got us. But I think that's okay. Every once in a while to kind of force their hand, because I think you put the offensive line at a disadvantage. Cole, so tell me this. When you're standing over there, stand over the ball while the quarterback's calling signals for 20 seconds, how does that affect you firing off?
I would tell you to go sit in an invisible chair on the wall for 3 minutes.
Okay, your stance was not that. Your stance was not that good. I've seen it.
The part
there's a picture
that part is not comfortable, not fun.
No.
The part that becomes even more difficult is when all the things you're referencing start to happen, and then when those are completed, there's 3 seconds on the play clock. Because is the defense just going to sit there and be static the whole time? Probably not.
No.
You're going to get a linebacker walk up. You're going to get a D tackle move over. You're going to get a D line shift. You're going to get a safety rotation down to the box. Something is probably going to change if your quarterback is taking 10, 11 seconds to move guys around, to visibly and audibly change things at the line of scrimmage. They're not just going to sit there and let you do that. So that's when all of a sudden all of our assignments have been laid out, and then everything changes. Then the defense changes, and our time is limited to be able to change what we need to handle and what we need to manage.
Yeah.
That becomes difficult.
Very.
Because they're just plain and simple. Might be not enough time to do it. So everybody better know.
And the defense has gotten smart. The defense has gotten real smart now. What do the defenses do? If they know that you're a check with me team, what do the defenses do? They wait until the shot clock gets under 15 seconds, and then the quarterback can't hear the coach. Now it's on the quarterback's shoulders to make the adjustment. So how much trust do you have in that guy? And now all of a sudden he's trying to check with, then they'll change again at 5 seconds.
Right.
And it's like you check, I check. And it's like back in the day when the defense just called it and did what they did, it was a little easier. Now they'll tweak and adjust, and you'll have a lot of gray area, and it becomes very complicated. Well,
and two, think about this. We've talked about these D coordinators all by nature becoming more aggressive. I asked last year, excuse me, multiple defensive coordinators in the SEC. I said, have you just gotten to the point where you're like, screw it. We're going to take our chances because it's worth it, essentially. And they all agreed, yes, absolutely. We're going to move, we're going to blitz, we're going to stunt, we're going to bring guys up because we don't think that the wherewithal to be able to attack it correctly is going to be there. And as you're saying, may not even have enough time to get that done. So if you're dealing with these aggressive defenses and guys are moving around doing different things, all of a sudden you limit yourself from a time perspective of changing it all. And then having another portion of the offense having to change what they do. What's the reality of you getting that picked up? It goes down greatly.
Big time.
And two, a lot of the D coordinators I'm talking to now, they've gotten away from this whole perfect call thing. They give themselves options with 1, 2, 3 calls instead of 103 calls. And if they don't cover one thing on a play, they know that that's what's not going to be covered, but they're willing to take some of those chances by having more simple calls out there to get as much covered as possible. Great conversation. Andy Burcham joins us next on Jocks.